go back. Would hopefully I'm going to help you find your way, navigate your way around module 2. We've just done a through the door task, which had misconceptions in. So we had literacy errors and then a misconception from science. And like I said, I wanted to go through those things as well, because that comes up in module 2, looking at how early career teachers should be embedding literacy, because it's not just left to the English teachers. And then everyone has either misconceptions or things that haven't been fully understood and that need addressing, you know, and you have to preempt that when you're teaching. So that comes up. So module 2 covers teacher standard 3, looking at demonstrating good subject and curriculum knowledge. And then the topics that are included, like it seems to be the tendency with all these modules, that the first thing an early career teacher has to do is this audit. So it's just a ticky box exercise where they have a look at all the standards and decide whereabouts they are, whether they're emerging, developing or secure. Then there's obviously loads of reading material and discussions that need to be had for the weeks from 2 to 6. And then when we get to week 7, they have to do like a Google form audit that just gets submitted to UCL Extend. And then there's also a learning log and a tracker to go through. So what I wanted to clarify with people is how you navigate around UCL Extend, because I think at first sight of it, you know, in that first half term, it was quite difficult to look at and find all the resources and know what you were supposed to be doing and when. Then also to share exemplar audits, because a lot of emails came back when I said I was putting on this session, wanting to see exemplars. So I work in a big institution, St John Plessington, and we've got quite a number of ECTs. I think there's over 10 anyway. So I was able to garner some examples from, you know, my own school. Then also to clarify the expectations for ECT, ECMs and induction tutors. Now we've got a number of induction tutors here, but Jane Kennedy's with us as well, and she's a very experienced induction tutor, so she can help me, because I've never been an induction tutor, go through this, but I have gathered information as well, you know, ready for this. And then, you know, we've got a number, looking at the chat, we've got a number of people as well. So the agenda, the 7 things, but I promise you won't keep you any longer than 5 o'clock, might even finish earlier, because I talk quite quickly when I'm nervous. But these 7 things, and hopefully that will help everyone. So we've got the module map, hopefully people have seen, and if not, I can get that out to you, that Andy Ash shared. So it goes through week by week, where we should be up to. Then I'll go into UCL Extend, we'll look at some of the resources, and then, like I said, we'll show you some exemplars. And there was a question about appraisal for ECF, so I'll come to that as well for ECTs. And then talking to induction tutors at my school, they have shared with me what they're having to do at the moment, or what they should have done last half term, because there was a form you had to fill in for the early career teachers, just a brief outline of how they're getting on. And then we'll also have like a forum for questions. So hopefully that's okay. I bet you're thinking, oh, we should just get on with it. But just 1 or 2 people are still coming. Is there any questions at that point, or should I just crack on? I'll just check the chat. Right, I'll just get going. So the module map, so I've just taken a screenshot of this. So, and like I said, please put in the chat if you haven't seen this before, because it is very, very useful, and I'll make sure admin team get it to you. But so this is this half term, like I said, module 2, looking at standards 2 and 3. So obviously we are in this second week here. So our ECT should have been looking at knowledge, memory and misconceptions. Next week is literacy and so on. There is an online community meeting during that week commencing the 13th of December. There've already been a meeting. That's why I couldn't do this earlier, because there was already a meeting on, and I know we're limited for time. but hopefully if this works well today, if I do future ones, I'll make them, you know, before the module begins. But the module map is really, really useful. So the next thing was, right, that's navigating round UCL Extend. So I'll actually just come off that and then go into UCL Extend. Can everybody see that okay? Thumbs up. Yeah, so here we are. Jane, can you see that okay? The website?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, brilliant. So I'm on the website. I could even go back a tab.
Heather, it might, I was going to say, you're just going to look at the where the privacy agreement is.
Oh, yeah.
Just whilst, I don't know whether you will actually see it, Heather, because you'll have already clicked it.
Yeah.
If colleagues on the call can't see when they log on to UCL Extend what Heather is actually showing there now, scroll down to the bottom of your welcome page. There is a privacy agreement that people were asked to click to say that they agree to abide by UCL, working with DFE, etc., etc. Once you've actually clicked that, it will then allow you to see all of those tabs. So if you can't see what we can see now, please do that. And if you're still struggling, then email ECF admin at our Teaching School Hub and we'll help you.
Okay. So when you've done the privacy agreement, you can see all these tabs, and like, I suppose the key one for this half term is module 2. So if I click on module 2, you get an introduction video there from, I forget his first name, but something Quinn, and he talks us through what the module's about. But then I can see, because of my role, I can see the ECT's sort of documents, the gateway to their documents, then the mentors and the facilitators. So the mentor actually sees all the ECT's resources. So if I click on that, we get the module summary, then from the early career framework, the standards that this module is going to address and look at. There's also the mentor progress tracker. So there's a tracker for the ECT, but also a mentor tracker form that has to be, you know, filled in as well. So if I click on the summary, you know, it just takes you through, you know, what the module, how it fits in, and gives you an overview. And then, you know, what it's going to be looking at, so the audit and everything. So that gives you a nice summary. I'm not going to click on the standards, but it goes through the standards. I'll come back to the tracker, but then also you've got the 7 weeks that this module takes, all the resources that are needed, and the ECT, you know, the teacher should be looking at and working through, you know, ready for the meeting with the mentor. And then the mentor has a guide of what sort of things to discuss with the ECT. So every module begins with an audit that the ECT has to complete. And like I said, it's just this tick box exercise. So they have to download it. It's not something you do online. You have to download it and then, you know, work through that. Now, I highly recommend that this is done by the ECT before they have their mentor meeting, to save time for the activities that need to be done in that mentor meeting. So that's something they can do on their own. And, you know, like, I'll show you an example later, but at this stage, people will be, you know, it's okay to be emerging and developing. We're not really expecting people to be secure, because, you know, it's very, very early days, you know, at the start of their career. We did have like one teacher at this school that was, oh yeah, I'm secure and everything. And it, you know, they had to be taught to about, well, you know, how are you getting on with such and such a class? And there were issues, but I think they thought at first, oh no, we need to show that we're great at everything already. So obviously you don't have to be. If we go back, so then there's material for the mentor. Now, there is a lot of reading for the mentors. I think everyone was quite shocked at, you know, the amount of stuff that the mentor has to look at as well. But then it is something that they can do with in the meeting with the teacher. Okay. So it's also supposed to develop the mentor as well. So there's a big section on how to construct learning conversations. Now, if you've been a mentor for years, that's something that you can have a quick look at. But obviously there will be mentors that are new to this. So, you know, a lot of this material is for them. So there's, you know, the materials there. And again, I'm not going to go through all of it, but each week has the materials to work through. Now, in subsequent meetings, if I do one again, you know, and I'll get feedback from you all, I will have a look at this material and maybe we'll be able to share it and take a little bit of pressure off the reading and, you know, share how I would approach, you know, this, because, you know, I've been a mentor for a long, long time, as well as many of you, but just to take that pressure off, because it is quite time consuming. Just let me just check, someone else is coming in. Okay, so is everyone all right with accessing material? You can unmute if you want to. Just check the chat. Would you show us how to find the materials again? Yeah, so if I go back, so let me just get rid of this. I have to use the back arrow. Oh, here we are. So when I log in, this is the page I get. And then, so, you know, it's the early career framework. And then that straight away, I go to that page. But like Jane said, if you're not getting that straight away, there is something, you scroll down and there's a privacy agreement and you just tick some boxes and then you should be able to access everything. But then, so we had module 1, the first half term, and now we're on module 2. The screen doesn't look like it's changed, but you just scroll down and there's all the materials there. So, you know, depending on what your role is, you click. So the teachers have that. There is a way where you can download all the materials in one go, but they recommend you don't do that and you just work through it week by week. I suppose, you know, you don't want to get lost and do too much all in one go. Let me just admit some more people in.
Can I just chip in at that point, Heather?
Yeah.
One of the other reasons that they actually don't advise you download everything is because, and somebody's actually put in the chat about what percentage should we be up to now. Holly, I wouldn't necessarily get hung up on that right now, purely and simply because everybody's starting point is slightly different. Some ECTs are only just being granted access to extend, etc. So, and we've got some people who are non-standard because they're part-time. So everybody's percentage wheel might say something slightly different. But when you go onto the platform, that's how your engagement is tracked. I'm going to use the word tracked, but not for people to be hung up on it. And that's what influences how the percentage wheel actually stacks up. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. So I can come back to the resources, but if I just go back to my presentation, because then I can show you some exemplar material as well. So go through, so you just go week by week through the materials. And I did have a quick read of like the forthcoming ones, and there, you know, there is some really, really good exemplar materials there. And then there's also stuff that as an experienced teacher, because there's a lot on retrieval practice, and there's a lot from Rosenshine's work, that Barack Rosenshine, that I know a lot of schools have, you know, dipped into. It was big on Twitter as well, where you can actually show, you know, as a mentor, you could show how you do retrieval practice, how you check understanding, how you help with working memory, how you map the curriculum, how you address literacy issues. So there's a lot of stuff that you can then use the UCL Extend materials, but then share how you as a classroom practitioner, you know, work through it. So the audit then is just ticky box exercise. So hopefully everyone's been all right with that. But then there's this tracker, and I'll go back and show you where that was. But the ECTs have a tracker. So this is how people in my institution at Pleasington have been filling it in. So there is a code at the bottom. You put an N if it's not complete, P if it's partially, and so on. So there's a little key. And then what we've done here is, although you've got the week by week, you know, what you're supposed to be doing, they've actually put a date on when they actually did have a go at doing that. So that's just that part of it. Then
Heather, sorry to interrupt you again at that point. That for those people who are on the call who are induction tutors, that previous sheet that Heather's just shared is actually helpful for you when you start to complete your progress review for your appropriate body. We are not the appropriate body for schools in Liverpool and largely in Wirral. That will be an ECT manager through School Improvement Liverpool, and it is them who will be releasing the pro forma on their website as to how you actually fill it in. But that document that's on screen now will be helpful for completing it.
Okay, great, thanks, Jane. So we had got a drama trainee who was thinking, oh, I can't edit it online, and was struggling. So he printed it out and has handwritten it, and that works for him. Like now, I've talked to him, and he probably will edit the document. But I was happy with that. He's filled it in. His mentors filled it in and added to it, and that even just that photograph of it can be dropped into his folder, which I'll show you in a minute how we've organised it at Pleasington. Then we've also got someone that has typed it up. So module 1 was all about classroom routines and everything, wasn't it? And consistency across the classroom. So they filled it in, and I can share this PowerPoint as well with people with all the exemplars in, if that's useful. So the ECT has to think about their key learning, what they've actually done, how they've applied what they've learned into the classroom. So give tangible examples. No surprise, as a secondary school teacher, it was difficulty with year 9 class, to begin with, but using the information in the module and also the expertise of her mentor and the department, they've been able to get their head around the school policy and being consistent and being positive as well with children to build up that rapport. So she's put her successes and challenges, and then how they've noticed differences in their practice, but then also that knock-on effect that because she's not asking for support from her head of department, that's had implications on the wider team. So thinking about that, then her next steps they're thinking about, and then also linking it to the standards. So going back, that's why that standards document's there right at the start of each module, so that she can find which standard that she's collating evidence for and has been working on. So that is the tracker. So actually I'll come off it again and go back to the website just to show you where they are. So if we go to the ECT, you've got this bottom one here, the purple hyperlink takes you to the tracker, and there's one of them for every module. So, if it hasn't been completed for module 1, maybe when there's time at the end of the year, you can go back to it, but let's make sure module 2, we're hitting the ground running now with it, and get it filled in there. So that's like the blank one. So you find it on like the bottom hyperlink there, and then you work through all the units. Okay, so that has to be done. Now at my school, and I know at St Mary's, which is the other secondary in our MAT, what the induction tutors have done is basically we work on Google Drive, but say if you've got a school network or just any way you can share, they've produced, the induction tutor has produced a folder for all of our ECTs, and then also with our early career mentors, so the mentor as well. We've got a folder for each one, and that's where the mentor and the trainee drops in these trackers. Okay, so the induction tutor can see engagement levels there and see how, you know, everything's progressing, which can also be helpful for filling in that review form. So that's just how, you know, schools, you know, an example of how my school and another secondary school in the RMAT have organised it. So it's just shared folder where people can just drop and edit stuff as you're working through the modules. Okay. But, you know, whatever works for you in your schools, like if you've got a network or just sort of folder, electronic folder where people can work. And basically at the end of the year, then you'll have all these module forms in, audits and the logs. Now, coming back to that as well, in fact, I didn't want to stop sharing. A big surprise to everyone, like I'll be honest here, was the form that the mentor has to fill in, you know, because yeah, the mentors have to fill in this. I've screenshotted the mentor one and I'll show you that as well. Now, I couldn't get hold of an exemplar one because our mentors in my school were like, what? We've got to fill this in. It was like, yeah, because I found it. So they're doing it retrospectively. So that's something to be aware of as well. There's a mentor form. Have I got the right one up? Yeah. Oh, here it is. Oh no. In fact, I'll come off that and I'll show you where it is online. So if I go back to the gateway, scroll down, the mentors have to fill in this tracker as well. It's not as onerous as the teachers one. So you just put, you know, did you get through everything in the mentor meeting? So just use that key in the table there. But then the mentor has to log their learning. So, you know, it's a live log. So after or during the mentor meeting, they just put what they've learned from it and reflections. It's only supposed to be a one-page document for ease of use. So nothing too onerous, but the induction tutor signs that off as well. So the mentor signs off the ECT's form, the induction tutor, I suppose it's just to make sure everyone's engaging, you know, with the process. They sign off the mentors one. So that has to be done. But again, I will get an exemplar one for everyone and share that with you, but it's nothing too onerous, you know, just a few bullet points on any learning, you know, that needs to go there. But again, to show you where it is, it's in the mentor gateway for them to fill in there. Okay, any questions on that? Just check the chat. I've been using the learning log to record discussions. Yeah. Yeah, and I was speaking to someone in science in my department. That's how they've been doing it as well. Yeah, that would, you do it every week. It'd be an ongoing, like a working document. But I have to be honest, it was, you know, a big surprise to a lot of mentors in my school when I've said, oh, have you got an exemplar mentor log? And they were like, oh, right. And especially if you've been a mentor for a long time. But it's just to make sure everyone's engaging. Yeah, so I thought it was just the ECT tracker. No, there is a separate mentor one.
And Heather's quite right. It's about the engagement. And as an induction tutor, it's always been the expectation that ECTs, NQTs as they were historically, had a weekly meeting with their mentor, but that not necessarily was that always ever recorded somewhere formally. This is almost a check to make sure when you come to do a progress review, for example, then if there are any concerns or issues with the ECT, then actually if you've got this recorded, you can actually start to identify what support was put in place, where it went wrong, etc. If everything's going well, again, that needs to be celebrated, but you won't, it's unlikely that you'll be asked by the appropriate body for this evidence. However, if you've got it there, it's your document, it's your proof that you were monitoring it across the course of the year or the 2 years.
Yeah, and there's been a few questions like, do we download it and upload it? No, there's no facility to upload it. You basically, you know, like I was saying about having some sort of drive where you just populate a folder. So I'll just present it again. So we use Google Drive at my school. So we just shared the Induction Tutor has just named up all the folders with the ECT and the ECM, and then they're just going to populate with audits and these learning logs, these progress trackers. But there's no facility to upload it back to UCL Extend. What they do have, and some of you might be aware of it as well, is like, I won't be able to show you it because it's only if you're a mentor or a teacher, but I clicked on it before. So let me just quickly find it for you. There was like a Google form in week 7, but they apologized for being a bit late. So there was a review, and then it says, now complete the mandatory end of module completion form. So because I'm not a teacher, an ECT teacher, that's not there, but there was a link and you just did like an online, it's like a Google form, and it was like another audit, and then that got submitted. I don't think once it's submitted, it's gone, but they asked you to do that. And there was one for mentors as well, but like an electronic form, but that's the only thing that actually goes to them. Everything else should just be collated in-house. Let me just see if the mentors one's there. It's in the last, oh, I'll tell you why. It won't be there yet because I'm in module 1. Apologies. Let me go back to the first module. If we go to week 7, I know I saw it in the mentors one. And they were late in putting it on, but yeah, see that hyperlink at the bottom there? Now complete the mandatory end of module completion form. Only available if you're a mentor or hidden otherwise. Now, I think I tried clicking on this before and it says it's hidden, and that's because I'm not a mentor. But it doesn't take long. Again, it's just like another audit of how, you know, you found the module and where you think you are now. But that's the only thing that goes to them. Otherwise, like I said, everything, all these forms have to be kept in-house. Okay. Let me just double check the chat. And yeah, you should be getting protected time for these meetings. General time for how long you spend on them. No, it's not supposed to add to anybody's workload, and that's why you should have protected time. I was looking at a lot of resources, and as an experienced teacher, you know, you can have a look and you get the gist of it. You know, it's like, oh, a lot of it on misconceptions. So it's like a trigger, and like there's loads of misconceptions in my subject. So, you know, I can hold that discussion with my, you know, my mentee if I had one. But then there's lots of good sort of scenarios to read through and everything. So it's not too onerous. Like at first sight, it looks like they're quite big documents, but a lot of it is common sense and stuff. You know, it's our bread and butter of teaching, you know, because we've been doing this role for a while. Whereas as a new start teacher, an early career teacher, you know, they've got a big learning curve, especially if you consider COVID, because their training years, you know, they didn't get the experiences they should have through no one's fault there. Okay, and Jane's just put your protected time there. So in the chat as well, I'll put it in again, because there's lots of questions coming through. I've produced a Padlet, so if you click on that link, and I'll share it as well, I've put some questions on, and you can just click on the pluses and add a comment. You don't have to, but any positives about module 1, any challenges, ideas moving forwards for module 2, any questions and any suggestions. Now, I'll keep this Padlet open, but so if you want to copy the link and think about it another time, or if you want to add anything now, hopefully it's worked and taken you to it. No one wants to add anything, but it's always there and I'll check on it, and that will guide me, because this is, you know, all new for me as well. And hopefully I'll be able to support you more as we progress through. Right. So, big question that came through when I said I was going to do this session was, are ECTs are involved in the appraisal cycle? Well, it's a big no. You know, NQTs never were, so ECTs aren't either. However, there is, you know, they are getting assessed, but obviously not by mentors, but by induction tutors. So I'll come to that. So the induction tutors' roles and responsibilities, obviously, you know, the big one is registration with appropriate body. And hopefully everyone is okay with that now. If not, again, Jane guided me. So if there is any questions on registration, please put it into the chat. Right, then also it's the induction tutor that does the assessment. So again, I've said, remember, mentors are not involved in that. Now, the assessment is done on ECT Manager. There is one progress review form per term. So, you know, heading towards Christmas, we need to be thinking about filling those in, where you give brief details on whether the ECT is on or not on track, basically. Now, I was talking to my induction tutor at my school, and she said that they sent out this flow chart, which looks quite complicated at first sight. Hopefully everybody has seen this. And again, if not, please let me know in the chat, and I can, well, I can send this PowerPoint as well, because I screenshotted it. It was a PDF, but the PDF does have the hyperlinks. So there's, you know, the appropriate body, and then how you log into ECT Manager. And then more information there. Now, what I wanted to show you all then was the form. So again, I've got that open somewhere. Here it is. So this is the form you have to fill in termly. So it should already be populated with the ECT's name. Then there's some boxes there you fill in about attendance. That should already be populated, I think, you know, with where they are at. But then when we come to, it says, give brief details for the reason for your answer to whether the ECT is on track, or if they're not on track, you know, have they been informed? If the ECT is not on track to successfully complete induction, has support been put in place? So there's, you know, brief details you have to put in there. Has the ECT continued to access a program of support based on the early career framework? So that's like what Jane was saying, that's where you dip in and check, you know, they are engaging with the program. So, you know, filling in the audits, looking at their learning log, you know, how have they used the materials of UCL Extend, you know, in the classroom, how have they changed their practice, you know, what have been the challenges, and so on and so on. So as an induction tutor, you can look at that. And especially if you're in a big institution with quite a lot of ECTs, you know, you might not know them personally. You need to get in and have a look at what work they've been doing for their modules, because we want everyone to be engaging. And, you know, it's just part of CPD, isn't it? It's something we all have to do. Then the ECT gets the opportunity to make comments there, and then it's signed off. So there's one per term to complete Okay. Any
Heather,
questions?
sorry, I didn't want
Yeah.
to interrupt you whilst you were in full flow there. Basically, I put in the chat. These are available on ECT Manager. They will actually open to be completed on the 1st of December with the submission date of the 8th of December. Adele's asked the question about who completes the long form. The best practice in this instance is the mentor in conversation with the ECT, and that could form part of your weekly meeting in the week that the 1st of December falls in. That should be the focus of that meeting. But actually, it's the induction tutor that has the formal responsibility for submitting it. So in our school, for example, I'm at St John Bosco in Liverpool, and what happens is the mentor will have that conversation with the ECT. Collectively, they will complete the progress review. It's then a conversation with me as the induction tutor before I add my comments into it from what I know, from what I've seen, formal observations, etc., before it gets finally submitted. But the form that Heather's shared with you is only for, bearing in mind that there are 6 terms across the 2 years of the ECF programme. So it's to be completed at the end of terms 1, 2, 4 and 5. And there is a different formal assessment that hasn't been released yet that will be completed at the end of year 1 and the end of year 2. So effectively the end of terms 3 and 6. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. Is there any further questions on that? So, that's the role of the induction tutor. So mentors, it's just working through, I say just, I don't mean that flippantly, but working through the UCL extend work, and then the induction tutor. When you mean long form, it's that form I've just shown, yeah. Because that's not part of my role. I've never had to do that. Okay, good. Anything else? No. So basically, is there anything coming through the chat there? No. Basically, so I just wanted to end really on like the why. So that was all the how, and it is hard. It is very onerous. I'm working with a lot of mentors in my school, and they're like, wow, they weren't aware of the tracker, for instance, but it's not supposed to be onerous, and it's just something like some of you have been doing, is just filling it in the meetings, just a working document, but it's just there to show engagement. So that's all the how, but then the why, a quote from Pope Francis that was shared actually in my school in one of our long meetings this week was, teaching is a beautiful job as it allows you to see the growth day by day of the people entrusted to your care. So that's not only, the children that, we look after and help develop, but also the new early career teachers and the trainee teachers. I bet a lot of you are involved in that as well. But, we all remember, your first years are the toughest. And, it's great to see them develop and flourish. And then like now in my school, a lot of them are above me, they're senior leaders as well, but it's great to see. And, so that's the why we're doing it. And at times, especially this winter term, it is difficult and time consuming, but, it's worth it in the end. And, we get a lot of benefit from it as well. So just wanted to end the meeting with that. Well, I say that there is a couple more slides. So thinking ahead, I'm hoping you found this useful today, and thank you, Jane, for your expertise. But, I can organise some more meetings, especially prior to starting module 3. And like I say, I'll have a look at the material and share ideas just to help with that pressure that everybody's under. And I can also look at how I'd adapt them and share ideas. If you think that's a good idea, I haven't got a direct email through the Inspire, so it just goes to our admin team and they'd let me know. So there's the link there, which it was the same as a lot of you responded to. And also remember that Padlet links there. So if there's anything you want to drop onto that, and any suggestions, any thoughts, I know it's a steep learning curve for us all with this new early career framework, but hopefully as we work through, it becomes easier. Okay. So actually, I knew I'd go fast. So we're finishing 10 minutes earlier than planned. So that's always a bonus as well. But please let me know and put anything in the chat now as well. If there's any other questions. Can we have a copy of the PP, please? Oh, of the PowerPoint, yeah. So I'll spell check it, but yeah, we'll check and get that sent out through like the admin. And like you've seen, all the exemplars are there. Apologies, I didn't have one for the mentor, and I'll get one for you as well, the mentor tracker. Yeah, I'll put the Padlet link in again. Is that all right? Can you copy and paste it out the chat, or I'll put it, when I ask the admin team to send this out, I'll put the Padlet there as well, and I can check that. And also there's the opportunity, if someone's already put what you were going to put, you know, just like it, a bit like Facebook, and then we see, oh, is that a good idea? Is that, you know, people like that? Okay. So